Good morning, scholars. I have yet to figure out what's going on with my program that has us record videos. I have it working on Google Meet and Zoom, but I cannot figure it out. So I have to get in touch with Mr. Flynn today, which I will do so you can see my face tomorrow. Today is National Frog Jumping Day, and today we are going to explain the significance and accomplishments of leading figures of the Renaissance. So people that were around then that still affect our lives today. So we have quick notes, guided practice, independent practice, but a lot of independent work today, so I'm going to go kind of fast. So our three words today are chapel, proportions, and access, and our first word is chapel, and this is a room, sometimes in a larger church, that's set aside for prayer and worship. So if you think about if you go to church, sometimes there's lots of different rooms in your church building, so some of them might be for Bible study, some of them might be for social events, and then you have the actual room where you actually come together as a group and pray and worship, and that would be similar to a chapel. Proportions, this is the relative size of things. We're not talking about proportions in math. This is different. We're talking about how one thing compares to another in size. So if you think about medieval art last week, they were not proportions. Some arms were super long while heads were super small. And these artists were like, that's not realistic. That doesn't work. So we need to figure out how to make it correct. And then axis is just the imaginary line that is drawn through a ball such as Earth, which I think you did in science class. So go ahead and pause and finish getting those. These are just more pieces of work that explain proportion. This is the Sistine Chapel, which you'll read about shortly. This you can read on your own. This is just, this will just help and guide you. And then here we're going to start really quick, and then I want to explain your independent practice because there's a lot going on. The spread of ideas was made even easier by the invention of the printing press. This machine presses inked type or plates onto paper to create many copies of a work. Recall from your study of China that the Chinese had to learn to make paper and to print using wooden blocks. Gradually, knowledge of paper making and examples of Chinese printing blocks reached Europe. In about 1450, oh, that would have been bad. In about 1450, a German named Johannes Gutenberg dramatically improved on existing printing methods. He invented a printing press that used movable type, characters that could be rearranged and used over again on other printing jobs. Unlike the Chinese, who used wooden blocks for printing, Gutenberg cast his type in metal. Before Gutenberg's invention, most books were written and copied by hand. Yikes. Could take 4 or 5 months to copy a 200-page book. The new press could produce 300 pages in a single day. As a result, books and short works called pamphlets could be made much more quickly and cheaply. The number of printers in Europe soon increased rapidly. People used printed matter to spread new ideas, discoveries, and inventions. And since printed material was more widely available, more people learned to read. Remember, this ties into humanism and authors writing in the vernacular or in the spoken language, not just in Latin. As new ideas spread, people in more countries were swept up in the spirit of the Renaissance. So we're going to look at 10 between today and tomorrow, 10 leading Renaissance figures and their accomplishments. So again, as these ideas spread, more people are like, ooh, I like what they're talking about. Oh, I agree with that. Oh, I disagree with that. Oh my gosh, I have an opinion. Oh, this is different. And so that kind of spirit of humanism and individualism, and I want to read about what I want to read about. I want to study what I want to study. This interests me. I don't just have to sit around and worry about doing what the church wants me to do all the time because I found these texts that I just genuinely enjoy reading. And it's a hobby of mine. And so it really does make a difference. But what I want to know, and it is implied, but it's not necessarily explicitly said, so you need to infer this a little bit from the text. How did the printing press help to spread ideas? So go ahead and pause and think about that and use your text. There's lots of, in each paragraph, lots of ways that you can answer that question. But there is one that I'm looking for specifically. All right. Printed materials spread ideas because printed materials were more available. So I found that here. And so more people were able to read them. And if more people are able to read something, it becomes more popular. So think about, it's one of my favorite books, so I'm just going to bring it up again. So for example, The Hunger Games. When there were just a couple copies before it was published widely, not a lot of people got to read it. And then it became really popular and more copies were printed and more people began to read and enjoy the book. So that's kind of what well, not kind of, this is what we are seeing here. So pause and get that down. All right, here's where you need to pay attention. So you're going to have, it's tricky because the people in school with me are just going to have all this stuff printed out for them and they can just fill it in, but you're going to have to kind of go back and forth between your slides. So you're going to have 4 people today. First one's Michelangelo, and what you're going to do is you have this text here. It's going to go over his basic information about him. What you're going to do on this next slide is you're going to fill in this information. So years of birth and death, where was he from, aspects of his personality, talents and achievements. So if you look in this slide here, you can see all this information. He 1475 to 1564, that's when he was born. He was born in a small village near Florence. It goes over his personality and it goes over his talents and achievements. Now, you're going to be like, I have to write all of this in. No, you're just going to do quick note taking. So for example, I put lived 1475 to 1564. He's from a village near Florence. For personality and training, I did not write all of this, but it does say he had a difficult childhood. So I wrote he had a difficult childhood. Sorry, it did say that he was religious and it said he was ambitious. So I put those things as well. Okay. And then I put what he was talented in and then his achievements, which would be the Pietà, which is a painting with Mary. I think, no, it's a sculpture of Mary. David, who was a sculptor, and then the Sistine Chapel. So that's all you're doing for all of the people that are in this video. Okay. Once you get that done, you're done for the day. But just remember, don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. So you're just using this information to help you. We'll do the same thing tomorrow with a couple other people, and then we'll use that information to help us at the end of the day tomorrow and next week. So thanks, and hopefully you will see my face tomorrow. Bye.